Major funding for these broadcasts has been provided by grants from New York Community Bank, AmTrust Title Insurance Company, Perfect Building Maintenance, M&T Bank, Customers Bank, Marks Paneth LLP, Capital One Bank, Collins Building Services, Meridian Capital Group. Additional support has been provided by grants from AKA Hotel Residences Corman Communities, Ariel Property Advisors, Amerant Bank, Bank of America Merrill Lynch, Briarwood Organization, Chase Commercial Mortgage Lending, Chase Commercial Term Lending, Citizens Bank, Dime Community Bank, Douglaston Development Levine Builders, Flushing Bank, Friedman LLP, Handro Properties LLC, Handler Real Estate Organization, Hodges Ward Elliott INC, Investors Bank, James D. Kuhn Real Estate Institute at Syracuse University, John Casamatides Red Apple Group, Keysight Capital Partners, Matone Group, New Banks, Newmark Knight Frank, Ocean First Bank, Optimum Window Manufacturing Corp., People's United Bank, Rockefeller Group, Rosewood Realty Services, Stonehenge NYC, SVN CPEX Real Estate Services, Tierra CRG, the Meringer Family Foundation, and these friends. It's hard to do business in New York City. It's not an easy place to do business. There's minimum wage, there's vacation, there are other things. It's just spiraling and spiraling. So today, with the help of my friend, the head of retail leasing for Meridian Retail Leasing, James, I've assembled a group of individuals who are going to talk about the difficulties of running a retail business in New York City. My guests include the principal at the Hunt and Fish Club, Nelson Braff, Hunt and Fish NYC, the CEO of Morton Williams, Morty Sloan, and last but not least, my executive producer, James Famularo of Meridian Retail Leasing and Meridian Capital.
Thank you, Mike.
So you're on the front ground, okay, of people renting space. You've rented space to him. One day you might even rent to Mort, okay? How difficult is it today to go in and be involved with retail?
So it's really challenging. It seems that every time you overcome one challenge, you'll find two or three others. But, you know, operating a successful business in Manhattan, you have to be tough and you have to be ready to overcome challenges. You know, if it's not the increased wages, it's violations, or it's being sued by a lawsuit, a frivolous lawsuit. So you just, you know, I see the full gamut of retailers and restaurants complain. You have to overcome. You have to overcome.
So you bring up the topic. I got a restaurateur who's been involved with a very successful restaurant and other restaurants, and I have a successful supermarket operator who's been in the business. Let's talk about how difficult it's been for you to run a business.
It's really difficult. Well, I like what you said, and I hope a lot of people agree with you. I want to harken back to something my father said to me many decades ago. He said he remembered petitioning the city of New York to put parking meters in front of one of his stores because he couldn't get deliveries. The people who would live in the area would park there day and night, and there was just no way to get in. So the city installed the parking meters as a courtesy to him and to the retail community. And that was the mentality that existed decades ago in New York City, where the city felt some kind of obligation and some kind of responsibility and some kind of affinity for the retail class. And although there are tens of thousands, if not millions, of retailers in New York, we all feel besieged. Besieged by the mandates that have come down to us from the state and the city, both equally severe. The increase in the minimum wage, which you all know about, it was profound. I mean, to go from $9 to $15, 67% increase in wages in a 3-year period was horrendous. And I say horrendous, it came at a time when the internet companies were making their penetration, when other retailers who were low-cost operators like Whole Foods and Trader Joe's and Amazon and Walmart, and all these people were coming in and putting pressure on prices, making it impossible for us to recover that $10 million or even a part of it. And something has taken hold in the government of New York City where the peddlers who set up their businesses in front of our stores, or Amazon, which is building warehouses all over the place in an effort to get the whole package of retailing, and food in particular. They are the new heroes, and the retailers, like us, we're there to be beaten up. There are so many things that come down the road, almost weekly, from the city and state, that we don't even know how to deal with them.
I mean, both you and Nelson have, in addition to run the retail business, we were talking before in the green room with Nelson, it's not the fact that the minimum wage went from 9 to 15. It's the increase is spiraling on the other employees that you have to pay.
Yeah, and let me start by saying I wasn't against the $15 minimum wage, even though it hurt my business. I thought in New York City that's what it should be, but I thought the method of implementation was inappropriate. It got there much too quickly, along with other pass-throughs of real estate taxes and other incremental increases. The cost of goods went up because those companies, the suppliers, are also minimum wage-based businesses. But what it did is it just raised expenses at a rate that income couldn't keep up with. Had it been more thought out, it could have been phased in over a longer period of time. There could have been other incentives. What it does, it was a very high amount of piling on in a very short period of time, which is why now you see so many vacancies, and James could speak to it.
But just to quantify the $15, because some people hearing this are hearing, what horrible men you are, because you won't even pay your employees $15 an hour, which is not the case. No. The $15 is the lowest right. entry-level person.
So we had our lowest price people would be dishwashers, who we never were at the minimum. I think our lowest paid dishwashers, the ones just starting, were at about $11 an hour. But then when they go to 15, which was fine, the line cooks who were starting at 15, and there were a couple, most were a little higher, they then have to go to 18. The 18s had to go to 22, and so on. And servers, who were doing pretty well by us, the nature of our restaurant, their pay doubled. They went from $5 to $10 an hour, which doesn't sound like a lot, but that's not factoring in their gratuities.
Would you explain, because people don't understand, and I think it's important.
The tip credit?
The tip credit. So everybody has to make the minimum wage. That's by law. The tip credit is knowing that bartenders and servers and those folks are also getting tips. They allow you to pay a lower minimum. They're not allowed to make less than the 15. That's still there. They have to earn that per hour. But as the owner, you're allowed to pay them a lesser amount, knowing that it'll be offset by the gratuities. Tips. That number went from $5 to $10 an hour. So it went, and that's a very high percentage, at least in the hospitality business, that's a very high percentage of the staff. Essentially got a double their base pay. And again, it sounds horrible, 5 or 10, but that's not the number. They're still at 15, and in many New York City restaurants, they make multiples of that.
What about with regard to your people who are working the commissary? Don't you have additional expenses? I mean, you have all different types of labor working in your stores.
Yes, those people do make more than other employees, but we took some of that work out of the existing stores and consolidated it at one location for part of the prepared food work that we do. Most of it is still done at the store levels, so it's really not a big issue for us.
What about the vacation pay and the sick leave?
Well, in our case, we're a unionized company, so we've been governed by the contracts that we have, which are not terribly worse than the New York City regulations. But I would just like to address a couple of things that have come into our lives in the last month or 2 or 3, and will come in the next month or 2 or 3, that out of nowhere, this bail problem, that releasing criminals on bail, we are just overwhelmed by criminals coming in and stealing from us. The police won't respond. The people that we throw out come right back. It's become like an open joke. So that's one problem that we're having. Another is plastic bags. The city, the state, came to the conclusion that they would like to do something for the environment. So they're outlawing the use of plastic bags. We have a plastic bag that costs 6.5 cents, and it can be used for 125 uses and complies with all other aspects of the law. But they won't let us use that because it's plastic. That bag, by the way, would replace a bag that costs us 2 cents a bag. They're insisting that we use something that costs 15 to 20 cents a bag. That's like 10 times what we've been paying, and plastic sacks are one of the biggest things that we buy.
Wouldn't it be easier for the city to implement something like what they did in Suffolk County? Basically, you don't get a bag. If you want a bag, you pay for it. I mean, they have a nominal charge for the...
Well, we will try to put through a charge, but we're going to get abused for that. I mean, people are not going to be happy to pay for this.
Because Nelson has the same problem on deliveries with, taking out the bags and everything else over there.
We're going to try to do that, but we're going to get abused for it, because a bag that may have to charge 20 cents for will then have a tax. The city felt that this increase for the consumer wasn't bad enough. They're now going to tack on a 5-cent tax on any bag given to a consumer. Why, huh? I'd like to talk about garbage. The garbage rates in New York City have been determined by negotiation.
Which is affected by both of you.
By negotiation with carting companies. Some of us use brokers to help with those arrangements. Well, that's going to be outlawed very soon, so that you will be given three garbage men in a particular neighborhood. You have to use one of the 3. And here is something I will guarantee anybody in the world. The price will double or triple in the next 5 years.
Right, you're creating a monopoly, right?
Creating an oligopoly.
Right. So, James, your life is leasing retail. Who's renting? What are you seeing? What are the conditions over there? What are the alternatives? And bring up what I brought up about the SLA and getting a liquor license.
So who's renting stores? Not many people. I mean, we're doing deals, but unless the landlord is reaching across the table, so to speak, deals aren't getting done. It's all the problems that we just talked about. We didn't even touch on homelessness. I can't tell you how many times that we're trying to show a store, we're trying to market a store, and there's 5 or 6 homeless people camped out in front of the store with boxes as a lean-to. I mean, you can't even see the store. And when you take new prospects to see the store, they get scared away.
I mean, look, Nelson's on, he's between 6th and 7th Avenue, right?
6th and Broadway, yeah.
6th and Broadway. 6th is fine. You go a little too further, you're right into the heart of Times Square, which is a zoo.
It's challenging. The scaffolding everywhere is part of the problem. What we're all talking about up here is there's no one thing anybody could say is such an enormous problem that it's insurmountable. What's going on in the city now is just piling on of problem after problem that makes doing business more challenging. So the ability to stay in business or to stay profitable is one problem. The lack of desire to expand is another problem for the city, because every business is risk and reward. What the city is doing is increasing the risk, which by definition means you're decreasing the reward, and the end result is a lack of interest.
I mean, I think, you know,
in going
I'm a
forward.
reader of 3 newspapers, or I try to look at 3 newspapers a day. Today's Post had a great line. They were talking about the squeegees again. They were talking about the individual from France who was walking, he took his girlfriend to IHOP on 135th Street and Lenox Avenue, and then in the middle of the day at 4 o'clock gets knifed across his throat. Okay? I mean, the safety of the city is having an effect. I mean, I think a number of months ago you were on my show, and we had your buddy Willie over here, who's been running a business in New York for 30 years. He says, I'm going to Atlanta, Georgia. I want to go to a different place. It's user-friendly. You live in New Jersey. It's easier to do business, okay? You may not have the same risk-reward, but now the risk is much greater and the rewards are much less.
Right. I'd like to make an observation. There used to be some institutions of government that used to stand up for business in general, retailing in particular. But the New York State Assembly and the New York State Senate have become the enemies of the business world. The council and the assembly of the city of New York have absolutely no consideration for the people who try to make a living in retail. And the mayor, of course, he doesn't know what's going on even.
They're not pro-business.
New York City is a city of 8.5 million people, and the people who are working in the restaurants, the people who are working in the grocery stores, the people working in retail are the working people of New York. If retail is closed, or if they reduce the number, or restaurants close, it's going to have a detrimental effect on the entire situation.
Yeah,
it happens to be unfortunate that this condition of the government attitude towards business has come to exist at a time that the internet is making such a penetration into the retailers' lives. So you've got this double whammy coming.
I mean, you see it
very harsh.
with the delivery services.
Yes, while it's not a major part of our business, it's regulatorily, it's problematic. It's just very hard to do it. Insurance-wise, it's challenging. Cost-wise, it's challenging. But it's part of the overall dilemma of running the business. Like, there are roadblocks just put up in front of us wherever we go. Very popular show, The Room Where It Happens. Small business is never in the room where it happens. Decisions are being made, apparently, without impact studies from guys like us who have to deal with the consequences of those decisions. And I think we're seeing the results of it. It's not an accident, and this is New York City. We're not the middle of nowhere. New York City should not have vacancies on Madison Avenue. It just shouldn't.
Up 37%. It's ridiculous. These are all good points, but it's just not one thing. It's not two things.
It's the piling
a flurry
on.
of things. Every time you turn around, it's the wage increase, the garbage, the homeless, and they just keep piling on to the point where it's just not worth opening. You know?
I had this conversation with the city controller. He gets it. You know, he's running for mayor. I like him, but he gets it, that it's like, how much could he take in such a short period of time?
We were talking about automation, and I was bringing up, the cashless registers, which I'm seeing more in the drugstores than the health and beauty aid as opposed to the supermarkets. Are you going to go to that, do you think?
Well, in the 2 last stores that we built, we went to a half-and-half situation. And we would do the same in all our stores if it weren't for the fact that it's such a large investment. I mean, to do a store with new checkout counters would be about $175,000. So we have that investment. A lot of those registers that we have today that are used by cashiers, are new within the last few years. and we don't feel like chucking them and bringing in
So
a whole new
you'll replace them when
when they expire.
expire over there. Who's opening up? What new companies are coming to New York that you're seeing over there?
Everybody complains about Amazon, but meanwhile they're the biggest tenant in the market, or renting slots of space all over the city and the boroughs.
They've grown to about 5 or 6 stores. The Amazon bookstores have grown
Yeah.
over there.
Or not just Amazon, Target is opening stores. There's always coffee markets, new coffee chains in the market. So there's always somebody.
What about the plan for this emission controls? The emission rules by 2025 that landlords are going to have to fix their buildings to reduce the emission. That any building, if it's a cooperative residential unit with one, it isn't. But if it's a co-op where they have stores underneath, somebody's going to have to pay for the emissions.
I don't know the details on that.
No, but there's an emission law which it's like real estate taxes. It has to be passed through.
Right.
Have the landlords been more user-friendly now that we have a vacancy situation?
Not really.
Yeah. User-friendly is a good word. The dynamics have changed. The bargaining strengths have changed. Not for the right reasons, but they've changed. So, as James mentioned earlier, landlords out of necessity have had to become more flexible and start to offer more to their tenants, their alternative is empty.
I'd like to tell a little story, if I may, about what the city is doing. One of our landlords in one of our successful stores communicated with us recently to the effect that they had been rated by the city of New York with the D rating for their electric consumption. And therefore they want me, our store, to change what we do in terms of electric consumption. It's a brand new store, by the way, so that they can pass their regulation. The supermarket consumes more than 50% of the building's electricity. They come to us and tell us we have to change our electricity or do something which we can't even think of in order to comply with this new law on the building. Nobody sat in City Hall and said, well, what do we do in a situation like that where there's a supermarket who has refrigeration equipment and other things that require a lot of electricity? They passed the same law, and now we're in the middle of a...
Nelson and I go back to our days in Brooklyn with the ice machine, the ice cube to hold the ice box over there.
We'll buy some ice machines.
No, I understand. But with regard to that, what about the ratings on the restaurants, the A, B, C, and D?
We're fine with it because thankfully we're always A. I think it's strange the way they do it. I think the things they check and look for don't make sense to me as a restaurant owner. I'm fine with it. It's just another bureaucracy, another expense. I'm sort of okay with it. I do think the consumer have the right to know whether or not a place
think
is cleanliness.
it's important.
The tests that they use and what they look for, I'm not sure in all cases make sense.
What about your thoughts about, if you have if you have a number of multiple locations, you have to put the caloric content down. I mean, if you had 5...
Good thing I don't have more, didn't it?
That's right, because you'd have to put the...
I think they dropped that. I might add that we too have inspections from the Department of Agriculture similar to the restaurants. And my attitude is I don't welcome the inspection.
But it's important, I think.
But I think that they're looking at things that we should be doing anyway, so
Yeah.
so it helps us to elevate our standards.
Besides the Targets of the world, are we ever going to see a Walmart in New York City?
I think so. Look, this, like you said earlier, we have over 8 million people here, over 60 million tourists annually. There's tons of people here, tons of consumption, tons of demand. Amazon can't fulfill everybody's need.
What about the clothing retailers? Amazon does take care of fulfilling a large number of the clothing. Are you seeing a significant reduction in...
I think it's segments. I think certain clothes will always need to be tried on. and super high ends. Nobody's going to spend $5,000 or $10,000 on a suit over Amazon. Everybody's going to want to feel and smell and touch the material.
What about the healthcare stores? You seeing more City MD type of medical outlets?
The urgent cash, yeah. I mean, I think they're brilliant. I mean, I remember being a kid waiting in the emergency room at Coney Island Hospital for 6 hours, and it was like a horror movie. The other day, I took my son, he had a little cot, I took him to the urgent care. Literally 5 minutes, we're in the doctor's operatory, examination, out in 10 minutes flat. Genius. Genius.
What about the Warby Parker type of concept, you know, that the e-commerce and the retail? Are you seeing more of that?
Again, genius. I walked in, tried a pair of glasses on, picked out my frames. They gave me a couple of different choices. No doctor visit, no big examination. They said, all right, they swiped my card. It was like almost like an Apple store. They swiped my card. They said, thank you very much. It'll be in your mailbox in 3 or 4 days.
So all in conclusion, my apple with regard to taking care of retail businesses in New York is not shiny and bright. We have to, you know, there's legislation, there are other things. We want people to earn a living, but you have to make it user-friendly for the retailers to operate a business. Otherwise, too many of them are going to go out of business. I'd like to thank Nelson, Morty, and James, and I'll see you next week.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.